Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Kistler O'Brien Podcast. I'm Tyler Chummer with Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection. We want to thank you all for tuning in for this month's episode as we get set for another great conversation with a KOB family member. And again, another individual from the sales department as well. But before we get to this month's interviewee, I want to remind you all that if you missed any of our previous episodes, be sure to check them out on YouTube. Search us, Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection, or anywhere that you get your audio-only podcasts on Google, Spotify, or Apple. Now to our May 2021 podcast. We are excited to be joined today by a member of our sales department here at Kistler O'Brien, Joanne Link, joining us here this month. Joanne, thank you so much for the time today and appreciate you joining us here on this month's episode.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Joanne, a lot to get to with you. I feel like we're going to cover a lot of ground here, and I want to give you as much time to dive into all of it as possible. So first, I want to start off by introducing our audience to you a little bit as far as who you are, your history with Kistler O'Brien, and currently what you do within the company. You've been here several years now and focused on at first a separate section of the sales department and now in a little different area. So if you can kind of give us a little bit of that history and then more of what you do right now for KOB.
Yeah, no problem. So I started off in the service sales role, covering sprinkler, fire alarm, kitchen, extinguisher inspections, and then moved over into the role I cover now, which is pre-engineered and engineered installation of fire suppression systems, which is a lot of fun and I enjoy it. It's a great industry to be in.
Certainly, and something that I think gets you out and about maybe more than any other sales rep that we have, as far as like we're getting out to these, crazy manufacturing sites and the ability that you have to go out and be at these different places. You talk about what you do and you enjoy what you do. And you talked about you were in service sales before, now in different systems. So a decade of sales experience, KOB, a lot of different, professional experience outside of this organization as well. And I think one thing that makes you such a unique sales representative is your method and how you go about it and your relationship building skills. What have you brought to the table in kind of this field that you feel is kind of maybe reinvigorated it or kind of maybe reimagined it a little bit? What, if that was a concerted effort, what was that effort in your mind?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, Tyler, is taking care of the customer. That's always been a huge philosophy of mine as a sales rep. The customer is the most important. So if I am meeting or exceeding their expectations, it's just a smooth process. And I always try to put myself in their shoes, making sure that I understand what they need. A lot of times my customer, everybody's busy. They have a lot going on. If I can make it a seamless, smooth process for them, follow up with them, make sure that I'm getting them what they need, it just makes, everything a win-win, and it makes it every day enjoyable,
Right. And I just think it's so fascinating that you're able to do that in some of these heavy machinery areas as well, CNC machines and food trucks you're working on and all these different types of things. And you're right. I think that also allows you to interact with a variety of different business owners, from your traditional restaurant to more of a manufacturing out in a landfill somewhere. I mean, it's just such a broad spectrum that I think you get that unique perspective compared to maybe a lot of the other individuals on KOB sales team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some days I'm in a hard hat and steel toe boots and I'm out at a landfill or over, with one of my customers at a quarry. And then there's other days where I, have a suit on and I'm out meeting with a restaurant owner. It just, every day's a little different. And that's the great part that I love.
Well, most of the places that you'd find me at is likely where a food truck is going to be as well. And that's where I'm going to be over the next couple months. The weather's warming up.
Yeah.
These COVID-19 restrictions are starting to loosen a little bit as well. And it's just right in time as we get to the end of May, beginning of June, with food truck festivals coming in, food trucks just kind of being a commonplace thing. That's right in your wheelhouse. What does KOB do for food trucks? As obviously there's a lot on the road as right now, but I feel this is a growing area as well, with probably new ones, propping up, being built every day, and we can help you from the start as well.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the season for food trucks. They are out and about, and there's food truck festivals happening every week. So one of the things that we try to do, our whole installation group for the food truck folks, is to make it as seamless as possible. A lot of times, they are on the go and they want to get this done, and they want to get out to their to the next food truck festival. And so we make it as seamless as possible with, scheduling. We have a great core group of people, and we all work together from scheduling to getting the installation done and making sure that, those food truck folks can get right back on the road again and start selling their food that they, make for everybody. So it's again just being a seamless process and communication, communicating with customers.
Certainly, and with us being a full service life safety partner, you don't need to work with one company for one part of the process, another to help with here. Joanne, and as you said, you're the installation team can be there from start to finish, and then also as the business grows and years go on, can also be there as well to help with the inspections and maintenance and any other issues that may arise.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So sticking with food, my personal preference, the food trucks to maybe more of a brick and mortar restaurant as well is something with a commercial suppression system for commercial kitchens that we do, and in particular you do. Obviously extinguishers and stuff KOB also works in, but more in particular we'll talk these bigger systems for commercial kitchens with you. The restaurant industry obviously was hit extremely hard during the last 15 months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some forced to close for a very long time. Unfortunately, many will never reopen. But at the same time, there are some that may have thrived a little bit more as well and have been able to grow and pivot and seen a boom in their business. What about all of those together, understanding that, there may be some with a surplus of money growing, there may be some that are on more budgetary restrictions. What can Kistler O'Brien do for restaurants as a whole in a normal setting, and then now restaurants in particular as we slowly emerge out of the pandemic times?
Yeah. It's been a tough go for restaurant owners, and with the restrictions and social distancing, and then being short staffed, it's really been tough. I've heard so many different stories from different restaurant owners. And I've also heard some positive stories, especially with the outdoor dining, and that expansions. So whether it's new construction or customers who are expanding to help grow their outdoor dining facilities, again, we try to make it a seamless process for installing their fire suppression systems, for their, protecting their appliances. We'll start off with design drawings for them. We'll submit the design drawings to the local authorities. Again, trying to make it a seamless process. They've got so many other things to worry about besides, having their fire suppression system installed, taking care of the permitting, and, they're trying to get business in the door and a million other things. So again, trying to make it a seamless process. Once we submit everything for permitting, we get those permits back. We can get that installation done typically in a day, maybe two, depending on how big their kitchen is. And then again, it's communicating and making sure that once the installation's done, we'll take care of scheduling functional test with the local authority, and then boom, they're moving on.
And that's a good point. And that's something I wanted to bring up about the experience that our installation team has with working with other stakeholders on jobs like this, especially with restaurants when you have to deal with health bureaus or other agencies that come out, or other companies that work on commercial kitchen equipment, whether the equipment has to be fixed and then you have to, coordinate with them. So they're in, and plumbers and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
How our team does with that, Joanne, I know you see that on the front line, but from what I hear in the trickle down stories is that is one thing that maybe sets Kistler O'Brien apart, is our ability to work well in a sandbox with all of those individuals.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, it's coordination and scheduling and communicating that to the customer. And, I said it before, I'll say it again. We really have a great team in our group, and we all work really well together, and the customers see that. So
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll definitely transfer and carry on through all the projects and the different individuals that a customer could interact with here at Kistler O'Brien. And speaking of KOB and all of our employees, they have that number one goal of our work makes your work safer for all of our customers. And I think any life safety system or service that we offer does that. But I think maybe some of these that you focus on and deal with on a daily basis, Joanne, could really, be the true testament of that statement, because they are in such areas where there could be some catastrophic, downtime or business loss or personal injury, private, just property damage, all kinds of stuff if things go awry. But our installation division, helps protect operators, helps protect all of these individuals. What are some things that you've been told by a potential customer that really stuck with you when trying to discuss these life safety systems and what they can do to help protect and enhance their business?
I think one of the things that really struck me, an objection that a customer had given me was, with the heavy equipment, the haul trucks, the wheel loaders. A lot of times those operators are sitting on top of engine compartments, and it could be very dangerous if the engine catches on fire. These operators are so many feet up in the air. A lot of times it's noisy, it's loud. They may not even know that there's a fire on their machine, which is incredibly dangerous. But I have had a couple folks say, well, we don't need fire suppression. That's what insurance is for. And it's a little disheartening. And a lot of times those are the folks that haven't experienced a fire. So what ends up happening is in some cases, there are companies that they want that fire suppression. It's built into their company structure. In some cases, for those folks that it is not, it will take an incident or, a fire for them to then say, oh, wait, perhaps maybe we should do this, and that's a lot of times it ends up being a reactive approach instead of a proactive approach. And, sometimes folks get hurt, and it's sad, and it's, definitely preventable.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that is, something that we see often, is that it's, a reactive approach. And that's the word that I was going to use kind of going into our next question here, is that a lot of that seems to be commonplace through a lot of these industries, because there aren't requirements. There aren't an enforcement agency that needs these things. And we try to show them what can be prevented, and why you never even want to go through a reaction like that or have to experience those events, and taking care of this ahead of time. And with the proper systems in place, you'll limit your downtime or not have any downtime and be able to keep your people and property protected. But how is that when it's that reactive approach and response? What has that been like, trying to navigate that and trying to showcase what can be done to be proactive instead of waiting and thinking, well, let's see if it happens?
Yeah. What I have seen is, the reactive approaches are then it's a hot topic. It is a hot item, and now all of a sudden, instead of doing one truck at a time or one loader at a time or excavator, what have you, now they've got to outfit all of their units. And so now instead of small costs, they're now going into a lot larger of a cost by now having to do all of their equipment. So I've seen that, and I've seen rushes for installation, and and a lot of times those folks, then they don't know how the systems work, what they can expect, if their system goes into trouble or if they have a fire and the system discharges. My approach then is, this goes into the one-stop shop. We can help you with installing it, and then we can help you with any troubles that you have on the system. These machines and heavy equipment at quarries, landfills, you name it, forestry, they run the equipment hard. And, and sometimes they'll go into trouble and they're going to need to be serviced. They need that, who do I go to? Who's around to get this taken care of, to fix it? So I try to let them know, that not only can we do that for them, but then we can also take care of it after we get it installed. So there's a lot of moving parts with all that. But that's what I've been seeing with it.
And I think your first initial part of that response is huge for folks that may not understand the severity of what could happen if there is an incident at the work site or with one of their employees, but just a pure budgetary thing. If this is something that you may feel you may be interested in down the line, being proactive and being able to budget out that, hey, we're going to do one vehicle in this quarter or two vehicles this year, and be able to be proactive and hope that as you progress, you're that much more protected, but you're also being able to budget for something instead of now having to deal with the loss, potential downtime, insurance, all of that, and then have to speed up the process and put out a larger sum of money at once. Like you said, in that reactive wholesale, everything needs to be protected. So there's a lot of downfalls. More importantly, it's the life safety. But then when all the dust starts to settle, you start to think about how you move forward. And then just the pure money thing of the actual getting those systems in place now to avoid what just happened to your company.
Yeah. And an operator, these guys work hard, they work long hours, and the, insurance will cover it. It is disheartening because, that you can't, insurance won't cover a human's life, when there's these bad fires. So
certainly. And so that's one negative, I think, takeaway that you've gotten from a customer over the years as far as a response. But in your years with Kistler O'Brien, is there one memory that kind of sticks with you, and experience with a customer and interaction that kind of maybe fuels you or motivates you moving forward through the years?
That's a tough question, because I don't know.
I can't give you all easy questions.
I don't know if there's really one that sticks out in my mind. I have so many customers that I've worked with over the years that, I honestly think that my customers are such great people. I enjoy talking to them. I enjoy meeting with them. So many are just down to earth, good people. So that's what makes me enjoy my job too, is having that relationship with my customers. So the one thing, I can't say the one thing, just because there's so many things that make this, my passion and what I enjoy doing. And so they're good people out there,
Fair enough. I'll take that. Very, very good. That's good to know, though. And I think, this kind of leads into this last question I want to ask you is we started this conversation, and I'm going to kind of tie it into the end, is how you have kind of reimagined, the sales method, the way you go about it, the way you interact with your customers. As you said, they're all just great people. I think they all would likely say the same about you. You kind of have this motto, you have this theme about, Kistler O'Brien and who would be your go-to source for what they need. How did that come about, and how do you strive for that to try to live up to that each day and with each customer interaction?
Well, I think the who is your go-to really came about when the more I talked to people that didn't have fire suppression or didn't have somebody to go to, that's when I started thinking, well, they need a go-to person for that, for everything, with the installation, with, whether it be kitchen and having to get permits, whether it be their heavy equipment, whether it be their CNC machines or their EDM machines that need installation, fire suppression. I wanted to be able to let them know that I can handle that for you. I can help you with service, understanding what's going on with the system, understanding the value of their system. So that's how I kind of came up with the, who's your go-to? You don't have somebody to go to? Well, I can help you with that.
Well,
So,
all I know is I need to know about CNC machine, food truck, commercial kitchen, paint booth. Joanne is my go-to. So I think that's fair enough to say that everyone should follow suit as well. So I really appreciate your time today, Joanne. I think this was a great conversation, shed a lot of light on your area of expertise and a lot of the systems that we do with installs and in Kistler O'Brien overall. So I really appreciate that. And again, thank you for a few minutes of your time today.
You bet, Tyler. Thank you.
You got it. And for folks, if you're interested, be sure to check out Joanne. She's on LinkedIn as well, Joanne Link, or email her as well, jlink@kobfire.com. If you need a new go-to individual, Joanne is the one for you. So that'll do it for us here today, ladies and gentlemen, for our May 2021 episode of the KOB podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in for this month's episode. If you missed any of our previous ones, be sure to check us out, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts as well. Subscribe, hit the like button, and we hope you will stick around and check all of our previous episodes and our future ones in the coming months. That'll do it for us here today. For Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection, I'm Tyler Trumbauer. We'll talk to you next time.